Okay, it's time for another edition of Fanfic Reco. This is where I recommend some of my favorite fanfics to you guys, and today I will tell you about one of my favorite Transformers stories. And it is a Transformers Prime story. It is titled The Most Silent of Screams, and it's written by No/Screamer. The story takes place on Cybertron after the events of Predacon Rising. So what happens is that Starscream is brutally killed by the Predacons, and after that we get to follow Starscream as, well, a spirit basically. He can't touch stuff or talk to anyone or be seen by anyone, but he can still see and hear people. So in this spirit world he meets the spirit of Cliffjumper that, as you remember, was killed by Starscream. Now Cliffjumper tells Starscream that the reason why some Transformers spirits don't join the Allspark, that is, sort of the afterlife for the Transformers, is because they still have some unfinished business in their previous lives. In his case, it was to 1, look after RC, and 2, to be Starscream's spiritual guide. So as the story progress, Starscream starts to wonder, what did he do wrong in his life? Did he deserve to die? What is he going to do now? Why is he in this purgatory? And we also get to know a little bit of his backstory. Apparently, he was a witness to a bombing in his hometown Voss, and he blamed the Autobot Council for it, which is why he joined the Decepticons. Starscream also tells us that being the first lieutenant to Megatron, being second in command of the Decepticons, was the hardest position to keep among the Decepticons. And yeah, there is a lot of truth to that. I mean, how many times in the show was Megatron replaced? Once, and that was by Starscream. And how many times was Starscream replaced as second in command? 3 times. And Starscream also says that, he says here that there has been a lot of others that tried to take his rank from him. So he had to kill his fellow Decepticons, not just to keep his position, but just to stay alive. And that is why Starscream has this very sinister personality, because that's how he has survived during all these years. No/Screamer really does make Starscream into a very sympathetic character in this. You can really feel all the sadness, frustration, and regret that he feels. Another thing about Starscream that I really like in this is that he is a very active protagonist. He doesn't just sit around and wait for things to happen. He is actively doing stuff. He tries to figure out what his abilities and his limitations are, as a spirit. And he discovers that he can touch objects when he is really scared, and that he actually can communicate with the living through computers. He also tried to keep tabs on what the Autobots are doing, so he is really doing a lot of stuff here. There's also this mystery that I won't spoil too much of, but essentially there's these night creatures that live in the spirit world, and they try to kill Starscream, and I really love the revelation of what these creatures are. We also learn that Starscream is partially possessed by Unicron from the time he tried to put Dark Energon into himself. And Unicron tries to convince Starscream that he is a being of, destruction and chaos. But this is really cool, because Starscream manages to sort of fight his inner demons, so to speak, and tells Unicron to piss off. That I thought was just so freaking awesome. All the other characters are very well written here as well, except Megatron, but that's mostly because of that shitty ass ending of Predacon Rising, so no one can really change that, I guess. I really like Cliffjumper in this. He's this really laid back and just great guy that helps Starscream out. And at first Starscream thinks that he's just toying with him, like, you are just playing nice with me, but you will stab me in the back once you get the chance. But no, Cliffjumper really is genuinely nice and very helpful towards Starscream. And you do wonder why, because Starscream was the one who killed him. And there's actually one point when Starscream and Cliffjumper are able to talk to the living Autobots, and RC is like, "Why are you hanging out with Starscream? Wasn't he the one that did you in?" And Cliffjumper is like, "Well, I have had a long time to forgive him. Plus, after hanging with him over a month, he really isn't that bad of a guy, you know." Yeah, so I mean, he's just a really great guy here. Soundwave is in this too, and what happened to him is that after he was sent to the Shadow Zone in the final episode, he burned through his energon supply and he died. So now he's a spirit too, and he, Starscream, and Cliffjumper, they become pretty good friends, and together they actually managed to save Megatron from a bounty hunter named Axer. After that, Soundwave goes to the Allspark, that is this big bright light that leads to the Transformers afterlife. Now Starscream, he actually feels really sad for Soundwave and tells him, "You don't have to go, you can still exist." But Soundwave lays his hand on Starscream's arms and nod, and as to say, "It's okay, I'm done with this, I accept my fate." And he goes into the Allspark, and Starscream whispers, "He was my friend." Yeah, it's really a touching moment, and with Soundwave of all people. I like Knockout in this too, because he's the only living being that actually seems to be, saddened by Starscream's death. He's the one that proposes that they should bury Starscream's body, and he's a bit angry with the Predacons. So he's definitely upset about it. And yeah, we did see in the actual cartoon that Knockout and Starscream, they do have a very special relationship. Now, what the Autobots are doing in this story is that they are all trying to rebuild the city of Voss, and a lot of new Autobots and Decepticons join in as well. There's a new Predacon in this too, named Ripclaw, and I really like her. She is very honor-bound and very tough, but there's a certain innocence to her as well. There's one part where Axer, the bounty hunter, tries to ruin Starscream's grave, and Ripclaw comes up to him and tells him, I didn't know this guy, but let him have his peace." And of course Axer attacks her, so she cripples him, and Starscream is watching this, and he has a very understandable prejudice towards the Predacons, but here is like, maybe all Predacons aren't that bad. Ripclaw also kills another bitch that I think we all wanted to see dead for a long time. So yeah, Ripclaw, I really like her, but the focus still is on Starscream and his character development. Another thing that is just amazing with this story is that it has so many great moments, and this guy, he really knows how to describe these, amazing, beautiful scenes. Like the one with, the death of Soundwave, as I mentioned. There's one where Starscream looks at his grave in shock as things, start to sink into him that he is dead now. And Knockout stands beside him and he says, "I'm sorry I hit you with the immobilizer," but... and then he just, walks away. There's this other great moment where Starscream tries to attack the Predacons since he's so angry with them, but since he's a spirit, he just goes right through them, and I just felt so bad for him at that moment, because he's so angry but he can't get any outlet for his emotions. I mean, it was almost heartbreaking. And there is some other very nice parts here where Starscream is just flying over Cybertron deep in his own thoughts, and it's really beautifully described. There's also a really good fight between Starscream and Cliffjumper here. Now what happens is that Starscream manages to hurt one of the Predacons, and Cliffjumper gets really mad at him because he tries to teach Starscream that revenge is not the right way, and it's a very well detailed fight. They are punching, slashing and tackling each other, and while they are staring each other down, they are actually spitting energon, which is basically their blood, from their mouths, like, oh god, yeah. And Starscream thinks, oh, this is what he was planning all along, to kill me. And after that, Starscream almost gets his wing ripped off. Cliffjumper helps him up on his feet, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically says that, well, now I have taken my revenge on you, Starscream, but I don't feel any better. It's a really great fight because there is a lot of emotion involved here. As I said, this story was written by No/Screamer, that also made this picture you see right here. It's an illustration of Starscream standing in front of one of those night creatures. This is the only story by /Screamer so far, and it is still going. He is still writing it. It is 25 chapters long as of the making of this video, and I can't wait to see how it ends. As before, I will leave a link to the story below, and see you next time.